Welcome to Parent Orientation. I'm so glad you guys are here. I have a question for you. How many of you, this is your first time dropping a college student off? All right. And how many of you are experienced? You've done this before. Okay, I want all of you that said that's your first time, look and see who just put their hands up, because those are the experts in the room. I want to welcome you. I also want to welcome those who've joined us on live feed, parents who couldn't be here this evening but really wanted to be part of this parent orientation. So let's pray and then we'll start talking. Lord God, thank you so much for today. Thank you for the journeys that are beginning at Union College. And I just ask a blessing on each student that's represented in this room, their family. I pray that you'll be with each parent as they go on that journey with their kids. And Lord, be with us during this time and guide us and bless us. In your name, amen. All right, we're going to start with a Kahoot. How many of you have done a Kahoot before? All right, I think that Ryan's going to have, this is Ryan Teller, by the way, in the back. Ryan's going to wave. He is taking care of all the technology for us this evening. And he is going to be putting up instructions on how to join our Kahoot this evening. But we just wanted to begin by getting some of your thoughts and your feelings about what's happening, dropping your kids off at college. And there you go. Go to, there's your game pin, and you can go to www.kahoot.it or your Kahoot app. So go ahead and get that. This is nice because everybody here can do it, but those who are online can join us as well. Oh, and there's the QR code too that you can scan. So that might make it super easy. All right. We've got 3. How are we doing? There's 6 of you up there, all right? All right, we're coming along. Okay, so I'm going to give you a sneak peek on the first question so that as people are joining, you can be thinking about what your word will be for our first question, okay? In a word, you need to have one word, okay? Describe your most significant desire for your new student, okay? So be thinking, that's the first question. One word that describes what your most significant desire is for your new student. All right, oh, we've got 19 of you. Awesome. Is anybody like, wait, stop. I'm not ready yet. Okay, oh, there's a couple more still coming. So the QR code might be the easiest way to get into it if you can scan that. While you're doing that, let me tell you a little bit about why we do parent orientation and what we're going to be talking about this evening. I know from experience, I started a new freshman here, it's been 5 or 6 years ago now, 6 years ago. And I still remember. I remember what it was like making that transition to college. And I know that it's helpful to know the kinds of resources that are available for our students, the kinds of resources that are available for you as a parent to support them. And that's part of the reason we have parent orientation, because we want you to know some of the things that we offer on our campus that can be helpful to you. And we also want to just share ideas of how we can support our kids during this kind of important transition in their life. I know when my son Ramsey, our son Ramsey started college, I kind of took a big gulp and I'm like, oh my goodness, he's an adult. Oh, and it was kind of a hard thing to think, wow, my kid's an adult now. He's not a kid anymore. And so we're going to talk a little bit about how some advice, maybe some resources that kind of make that transition a little bit easier. So, all right. Ooh, we're at 23 now. So I think we're almost ready to start into our first question, Ryan. All right. Here we go. First question. It's going to be a word cloud. In a word, describe your most significant desire for your new student. Okay, go ahead and type your answer in. Oh, the answers are coming in. All right. Here we go. Blossom. Oh, I love that. Successful, growth, peace, to meet people, close to God, diligence, Jesus, success, happiness, motivation, community, confidence. Oh, I love that. That's a beautiful word cloud of the things that you dream for your kids. And I know that there's more that you're thinking as well, but those are some of the things that we dream in this room. We're all dreaming for our kids. All right, let's go to the next question. In a word or two. You can have one or two words this time, okay? In a word or two, what is your biggest concern for your new student? Your biggest concern for your new student. One or two words. All right. Unsuccessful, being shy and reserved, anxiety, growth, overwhelmed, loneliness, distraction, lack of confidence, godly friends, stress, anxiety. So I know that we all have concerns, right? It's just natural as a parent that we worry about our kids. And that's another reason that I think it's important to come together and talk about how do we support our kids during this transition. All right, one more question. What is the most important way you can support your student this year? What is something that you have already said, this is what I need to do to support my kid this year? My new adult this year. My son is 24. I still call him a kid. He's married and he has 2 kids. I still call him my kid. He will always be my kid. I like this question because it may give us all ideas too of how we can support our kids. Financially, being available, keeping in contact, positive communication, money, letting them lead, pray, communication, provide, finances. Failure is growth. Ooh, that one's interesting. Emotionally, prayer, lots of prayer and listening and finances. We have lots of ways that we can help our kids, and we'll talk about those tonight. And I do think that one of the most significant ones is we can pray for our kids. That is really important, to pray for your kids every day. All right. So we're going to actually talk to several people that I think will give you some helpful input into what this college experience is like. And the first person that I thought it would be helpful to talk to is another parent, somebody who went through this last year. So Alicia Okenge, her son Aiden, right, was a freshman last year. And Alicia, just tell us, what was it like being the mom of a freshman?
oldest child, and so this was the first one that was leaving home, and so that in itself was kind of a big change for us. And so I was thinking about just how our family would change. You know, his life is going to be now full of school and making decisions, and maybe family vacations and things aren't going to be the same because he's going to have, you know, his own life. And, you know, how is this experience going to be for him? How's college going to work? And so and then, you know, you're thinking about all those things. Does he have everything he needs in his dorm room? And, you know, are they going to clean the bathroom and all of that stuff? So, yeah.
Has anybody else had that worry about their guys that are moving into see, I see nods of yep. What were some of the tough things once schools got started that you guys experienced with Aiden?
So I know that he would probably share with you that he's a bit of an introvert. And so if you have kids that are introverts, they don't necessarily want to go to the social things. And does anybody else have an introverted kid? Yeah, I see some head nods. And so Aiden, you know, we knew that was a big thing. That's one of the reasons we actually live here locally, but we wanted him to stay in the dorm and get experience of dorm life and meet new people and experience new things. And so trying to encourage him to do those things. And if you ever try to tell an introvert to go to a party, it's like, what? But, you know, just trying to say that there's lots of different experiences. And I think the other things that were kind of hard too were just, you know, making really tough decisions just about, you know, his course schedules and thinking about how those things would maybe affect him long term. And so he came across a class that was really going to be a significant course in his second semester, and it was going to take up a lot of time. And he was really concerned because he really wanted to be successful, but he was just really stressed out. And so, and worried, and, you know, just all of the emotions and the, you know, thoughts behind it were really affecting him. And then just trying to think through how to best help him. And so some of those things we kind of knew those things were maybe coming, but we really weren't sure that how he was going to react to those things, and trying to be the best advocate for him, but also knowing that this is what adulting is like. And this is the place where we have a decision where we could be really hovering and controlling and make the decision for him, or we could kind of help him process it a little bit. He can make the decision, and then we kind of see what happens. And knowing that that was a really important opportunity for him to get that decision-making experience in a really supportive environment, and then, you know, just dealing with whatever consequences came that way. So those were some of those more challenging things.
Yeah. Looking back, what were some of the best things that you did to support Aiden and to help him transition into this new chapter, this new journey in life?
I quickly understood that I could not sort of push him into things. I had to be like, oh, great, you went to that social thing. Well, how was that? And you know, just trying to be interested in the things that they were taking, you know, advantage of, and thinking about. One of the things that I was really proud of him is that, you know, he and a group of his friends decided to, you know, kind of hold their own kind of Sabbath school program. And so it was about 5 or 6 of them that just wanted to do a little something different. And so they got together, they kind of coordinated with a room here on campus, and they had their own kind of Bible study. And I thought that was pretty cool that he did. The other thing is we told him he needed a job. And that was kind of like we made him get a job. And I think it's important when you think about encouraging your kid to get a job, think about the jobs that are on campus. you really just don't know how valuable that can be. There are people on this campus that really care about your kid, and I know that they could go work at McDonald's or they could work at Hy-Vee and they could probably make, you know, a little bit higher wage, but what you get out of here on campus is you get role models who really take an interest in your kid. And so I'm going to put a plug in for Plant Services. They do a lot of hard work on this campus and they do a magnificent job. And so Aiden has been working with Plant Services for a couple years now. And those guys tell him how to work. And he shows up and he learns lots of great skills. They fixed some pipes this summer. He did concrete work. And I just feel like those are, and the really cool thing is he goes in about 7 o'clock in the morning. He's very diligent about that. But he makes sure that he's at there at about 7:30 in the morning so that he can have worship with all those guys. So, man, like how many jobs do you find that they're going to sit down and have worship with your kid? That's pretty significant. And so that is a big deal. And so we really appreciate all those guys that work on our Plant Services team to really help our kids and mold them into great guys that have good skills and good work ethic. And I think the other thing is just really telling them to connect with the resources on campus. So I just think that we have a great student success team. One of the guys there he connected with as far as just his academic coach and just looking at his course plan and talking things through. I think it's really good to tell them to go to talk to those people, start having conversations, communicate, help to, you know, problem solve, get somebody else's viewpoint rather than, you know, you as a parent's viewpoint, because these people are trained on our campus to know just, you know, graduation requirements and how to help, you know, connect with study materials and how to connect on campus. And so by plugging them into those other people on campus, you give your, you know, your own kid those soft skills that really, you know, need to be honed in nowadays of communication, problem solving, all those executive functioning skills. And so I think it's important to connect on campus. So we'd really tried to push that, and I think that was a good decision on our part.
Thank you, Alicia. You brought up some really important things, and it's part of the reason that I want you to hear from our different resources on campus, because as you as parents knowing about those, you can help your student, remind them what they have available to them. I also want to mention with the work piece, there's actually research that shows if a student works anywhere from 8 to 12 hours a week, it depends on the student, that they actually get better grades. And I think it's partly because they're better at organizing their life because they have to be. So I encourage you to encourage your kids to get a job, because it really, research shows that it actually helps them. And I agree, we've got some great resources on campus, some great mentors who employ our students, and it's not just a job, they are mentoring them, and I love that about our campus. So the next person I want to have talk is I want to ask our campus chaplain, David Kabanji, to talk about how you can be involved in helping your student have a great spiritual experience at Union. So David Kabanji, our chaplain.
Good evening. I just go by PK. I learned a long time ago that a lot of students can't pronounce Kabanji. Some say cabbage. Others, you know, they just say, like Jumanji. I'm like, no. So I just shortened it to just be PK. I don't know. I just like to. So we just had a meeting with our campus ministries leadership team, and we go through a leadership manual, and there was a section that I wanted them to really focus on, and there's 3 basic questions that everybody who walks on campus is asking. The first one is, who am I? Identity, right? The second one is, why am I here? Purpose. And then where do I belong, right? And so all of our programs in campus ministries are geared for those 3 questions. All of our Vespers, our chapels, our connect groups, which are small groups, they're geared to help our students answer those questions of identity, purpose, and belonging. Because we want them to know who they are in Christ. And we want them to know that they belong in a larger community of brothers and sisters. We want them to know that their purpose is divinely inspired. And so what we do in campus ministries is we gear everything in those three realms. And so as we do that here on campus, here are a few things that we'd love for you to do, because we've recognized that our students, as much as we love them here and as much as they grow here, when they go back home, it's a totally different environment. They don't have the same resources that they have here on campus. They don't have the same friends or the same support system. Some have better and others don't, but what we also want for our students to have is just that identity, belonging, and purpose-driven conversation. So here are three things that we have seen in our research, and I say we got this research from Fuller Institute over in Pasadena, California. And so these are the three things that are driving us as campus ministries and might also help with your conversations with your students. The first question is, or the first thing is, help them understand their identity in Christ by sharing your testimony and growth in Christ. And so when you're with your student, journey with them by sharing your testimony. I remember times where my dad would share, hey, when I was your age, this is how I grew in Christ. But then he didn't stop there. He would also say, this is where I am with Christ today. Mm-hmm. And that really helped me. And so seeing my dad grow in Christ helped me answer questions that I had about my spiritual growth. So when I saw dad grow, I wanted to grow. Second thing is just be inquisitive about their need and desire to belong to a faith community. They're always they have this hunger to belong, right? They have this, we all do, it's innate. I think that's how God created us, to thrive in community. And so oftentimes we find them in the wrong communities. We want to kind of steer that energy to positive communities. And so asking, hey, who are you hanging out with, right? But I have students who come into my office, and one of the conversations that we have is, hey, name the top 5 people you hang out with, right? Because whatever and whoever you're hanging out with, that's kind of what you're picking up on, right? And so the top 5 people that influence you most, they become your community. And so we want to be attentive of who we hang out with, because sometimes we hang out with great people like my good friend over here, and other times we hang out with not so good people. And so we then question, where did this habit come from? The last one is ask open-ended questions about how your student sees the world and their role in it. And that's basically purpose, right? I loved when my dad would sit me down and say, hey, where do you see fitting in the world? And that would help me pause, because I didn't know until I had somebody who I trusted and loved and trusted me and said, hey, I see that you don't see your place in this world. Where would you like to fit? And that really helped me identify who I was supposed to be as a chaplain. And so those are just 3 driving principles that we have used, that we've seen really work with our students, which you can also use in your own personal environments at home, maybe at your churches, that may also help your student grow as well. Yeah.
That's exactly what I was thinking, David, when you were sharing those. Those are questions we can use with so many audiences in our lives to have those important conversations about our relationship with Christ. I love that. All right. Our next person that we're going to hear from is our Dean of Students, Stacy Stocks, and from Student Life. And she's going to talk a little bit about how, from a student life perspective, you can support and help your student.
Well, hello, everyone. I feel like I don't know which way to turn. Maybe around, I don't know, but I'll look at you and then I'll turn if I need to. I want to share with you a little bit about how to help your student be successful in the residential halls. But as the Dean of Students, I work with village students and, I don't know if that's me or you. I work with village students and residential students. So whether your student is in the dorm or not, I'm happy to help support or answer any questions you might have. Some of the 3 things, I asked the other deans to contribute to this question as well, because I really think collectively we see lots of different things, but the themes that we came up with are, number 1, encourage your student to get involved and to get out of their comfort zone. And I know Alicia touched on that a little bit. This year we have a great blessing of allowing students to have their own rooms, and while that's a super exciting thing, we are going to be really working hard to make sure students come to events and come out of their own rooms and get involved. And so we want you to encourage that as well. I know you can only do so much from so far, but I know that when students get involved, they make friends and their experience is richer. And often students, especially if they're introverted, don't like to go to the really big events that might be overwhelming, but know that we have really big events and we have lots of really small events. So if they say, I don't really want to go to the ball field and be overwhelmed, say, well, why don't you look for the other events that might be more conducive and make you feel more comfortable at the beginning. In the residential halls especially, we have something called Oasis, which means worship and Sabbath at home. And all of our Oasis events are in the dorm, and they are very small group based. They meet all week long. So we have a craft group that meets on Tuesday. We're starting 4 brand new groups that meet this fall. We have lots of just time where people can come and feel non-bombarded by crowds. And so encourage your students to look for those announcements as well. The second point is to actively listen to them and point them to campus resources when needed. I say actively listening because sometimes when I talk to parents on the phone, they've heard something and they think they've heard something, but when I talk to their student, that's not what their student was worried about at all. And so maybe just clarifying with them what seems to be the central problem, and then pointing them to the direction of the resources that are on campus. Like maybe they're not feeling lonely, they're just feeling confused about how to find out about events. Or they're not feeling homesick, they just are trying to figure out the best time to call you because maybe you're on a different time zone. And so really actively listening to what they're sharing and then pointing them to resources on campus. If they're not feeling well, how about you go talk to your dean about where they find the nurse? Or if they're feeling overwhelmed about their class schedule, how about you go talk to student success? And so keeping the information that I'm sure you're being given this week about different resources on campus, and then when they call you, directing them to where to go. And the last one, pray with them and pray for them. I say pray with them because I've actually seen some parents do this, and I think this is really brilliant, and I've started doing it with my own middle schoolers, is asking them, what can I pray for you today? What prayer requests do you have? They might not have shared anything with you in your conversation that you felt was pertinent until you asked that question. And they're like, well, I have a test coming up, or, oh, I'm really worried about this. And you're learning some more information about their journey. And then you can continue to reach back out and say the next morning, hey, I prayed for you. How is your test? And it continues that dialogue in a way that's, giving them room, but also kind of keeping in connection with them. And then like all of us as parents, praying for them above and beyond what they share for you. So, thank you.
I love that idea about praying for them right there. One of the things that a friend of mine encouraged me to do, and I've started doing more and more often, is texting friends prayers that have asked for prayer because they can go back to it. Your kids, if they need it, they can go back to that throughout the day. They might really need it. And having that in writing, having that in their text, they can go back to it. And it's reassuring. So just an idea that I thought of when you said that. That's a beautiful thing for your kids to have that from you. I want to take a quick break and remind you of something that tell you of something that I forgot to say at the beginning. So at the end of our time when we're sharing about the resources on campus, one of the things that we want to do is we want to hear from you. We want to hear from you some of the things that you want us to know about your kid or your dreams and prayers for them. So be thinking about that as we go through this. What are your questions? What are the things that you're dreaming for your kids? And I will tell you in advance, we're going to be giving you a card to fill out. And it's for you to write down your prayer for your kids, because we want to pray for that. We want to know what's on your heart. And so we're going to be asking you to share that a little bit later. So I just wanted to let you know that because that's important to us. All right. The next person that I want to hear from is Angela Wells, and she is from our Student Success team. She is in charge of our Career Center. Got it right. So, Angela.
Well, hello, everyone, and I'm kind of right along with you as I've got a student starting college as well. So one of the things that I've heard that is really helpful, and it's helped me, is in order to stay connected with your student, how many of you have found that either you want to communicate every single day and they don't want to hear from you more than once a week or more than once a month? Like there can be a disconnect, or you can have a student who really, a child who really wants to be connected to you, and you're like, maybe we need to let you take your wings. So maybe have a conversation with your child and say, you know, how will we connect? How often will we connect? And kind of make a plan, you know, say, we'll check in on Fridays in the afternoon or something like that, just to have a plan so that they know when you're going to be checking in, you know when you're going to be able to hear something from them. So that's one tip. Is this still? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good.
You're good. You're good, Angela.
The other thing is students often come up to times that are challenging, and you guys are probably one of the first people on their list to call. And so one of the things we like to say is listen and don't react. Just listen first and encourage them. Say, who have you asked on campus to help you with this? Who could you connect with on campus? This is similar to what you had said, but I want to give a little plug to for Student Success, because we are a great place for them to have in their first list of people to talk to, their life coach, the tutors. Yeah, we're all there for them. And then finally, focus on what your child is doing. So students really need to be able to stay connected to you, and it's easy to ask about grades and how school is going, but if you can broaden that a little bit and think about what else are they doing, what connections are they making, what activities have they been part of. We've got Project Impact coming up right after school starts. So just find out some of those things that they're involved in and share what you're doing at home too. That can help them to feel connected and help the conversations to keep natural. So, yeah.
Thank you, Angela. And you can access our calendar online. It's on our front page of our website. And so you can kind of know what's going on and see, oh, I see Project Impact's coming up, and ask about things like that. So, all right. The next person we're going to hear from is actually a student, because we thought it might be helpful for someone who's just your sophomore right now. This is Fortune. Fortune, how do you say your last name?
Ogulere.
Okay, good thing I didn't say it. I would have butchered it. Fortune is a sophomore starting this year, and I thought it would be helpful to hear from someone, a student, about their first year experience. So Fortune, first of all, why did you choose to come to Union College?
Good evening, parents, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I have lots of reasons why I choose to come to Union College, but I think the one that is most outstanding from it all is the community sense. You know, this community sense where you're not just a statistic, because I kind of got accepted into 6 other colleges, but Union stood out for me because it sees you as a person, it connects to you as an individual. So that's why I came to Union College.
Did you know anyone when you came to Union?
Oh no, I had no clue. I'm from Nigeria, so last year was my first time coming to America or leaving my country ever. Yeah, so I had no clue. Everything was overwhelming, the airport, everything. So, but before I arrived in the United States, Union had already arranged a bus to pick me up and everything. So it was just nice, because left alone for me, it would have been crazy and overwhelming.
Oh, absolutely. So you didn't know anybody.
No.
How did you make friends? How did you connect with people at Union College? How did you get a feel for that community that you now love?
The first couple months we are lonely, because I was trying to find out other people like me. So I arrived in the summer and nobody was on campus. It was dead. So I survived the summer. So then I saw someone that was like, yeah, another student. So I think stepping out of my comfort zone to speak to people, because if there's one thing that is really, really interesting about, international studies, the fact you get to meet new people, listen to other people's perspectives. So that's the way I connected to people. The union has these events they host. There is Club Rush, everything sparks that. So I connected with new people who are my friends today.
Okay, so what's your top 3 ways that you can say, parents, you can give this advice to your student to connect with community, make friends at Union? Top 3 ways.
Top 3 ways. One is the church across the street. That's where there's something that happens every month. I think every Thursday you gather. So people come together, you meet new people, you connect with the school, the dean, everybody. Then there is Club Rush, events. They have all these treasure hunts where you get to connect with fellow students. And then like Angela said earlier on, you could go to Student Success where you meet your life coach, academic advisors and everything. So I think these are my top 3 tips for connecting with the community, the school at large. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Fortune.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next, we're going to hear from Stacy again. And I want you to think, what do you think the top 3 questions are that Stacy gets from parents? Just give it a second. Think about it. Okay. You didn't put, okay. They're not up on the screen. Stacy, what are your top 3 questions that you hear from parents?
It was tough for me to narrow this list down. I have a long list, but here are my top 3. What happens when my student gets sick? That is maybe
Did anybody
my number
have
1.
that question already come up in okay, I see a few hands.
Good.
Okay.
Good. So when a student gets sick, I would encourage them to reach out to their dean if they're in the residential hall. And if they're not in the residential hall, they can still reach out to the deans and let us know so that we can find ways to support them. We can assess, we're not medical professionals, but we can assess, do they need to see the nurse? Do they need to go to urgent care? Like what kind of sick are we talking about? And that is step number 1. What we do then is strategize, make a plan, figure out what our next steps are going to be with our campus nurse and our campus health department, and make sure that they get the attention they need right away. And then we work with the student to say, would you like us to bring you meals? Are you feeling like you want to get up and go get some meals? How do we best serve and support you? We've lived through a recent pandemic, so we've learned a lot about how to support our students even more than we might have before that. And so we have some plans in place to make sure students feel safe, feel like they can quarantine, feel like they can get meal support when needed. And so that is what happens when your student gets sick. The other half of that question was, what happens if my student is struggling with some mental health concerns? And I would say that the process is the same. Reach out to your deans, reach out to the residential deans, and we will work with campus health to make sure that they are connected with the resources that they need. We have a lot of local resources here very close to campus, within walking distance of campus. So if your student is in need of continuing care or seeing someone, then we have those resources that we can connect them with immediately. You want me to move to my second one?
Yeah, second question.
Second question is, what do my students do over a break? And I put Christmas break on here, but really every break. There's the question of, does my student have to go home? This is just a very short break. The dorm is open all year long. We're open all summer, we're open all school year, except for 2 weeks at Christmas time. And I brought those dates with me if anybody wants to write them down. But we do close our residential halls during Christmas break. And I actually took a picture of them because I was afraid I wouldn't be able to open it up. And I believe the dates, consistent with last year, are December 16 to January 5. That is the Friday after final exams. Final exams are usually over on Wednesday. And then it goes until right before school begins again. I think it's the Thursday before school begins again. And that's really the only time the residential halls close during the entire 365 days, just those 2 weeks. During those 2 weeks, we have some service providers come in and take care of cleaning and pest control and those types of things. So we do like to completely shut the building down by those times. So that's a question we get asked. But every other break, your students welcome to stay. We're open spring break, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Martin Luther King Day, any other breaks. If they'd like to go home, they can. Or if you want to come visit, that's a good thing to know. The last question is, how does my student get mail? That's a very common question at the beginning time of the year. We all have the same address, 3800 South 48th Street. You do not need to know your student's phone or room number. You don't need to know which building they're in. Just your student name and 3800 South 48th Street, Lincoln, Nebraska. It will go to the mail room. All the mail is sorted there and sent over to the respective dorms. If your student receives a package, then they get an email from the mail room saying, Fortune, you have a package. It's number 305. And Fortune has to go to the mail room and say, I'm here for package 305. If you send something and it doesn't arrive until Friday afternoon or Saturday, your student won't likely get it until Monday. I know that firsthand because I live in the dorm, and so when my mom sends me a box, she's very frustrated when I don't get it till Monday. So I always tell her, keep in mind, don't bother mailing it. No, anyway, but we get our mail Monday through Friday, but usually if it doesn't come by Friday afternoon, we don't see it till Monday. So those are my top three. I have lots, but those are my top three.
So, by the way, at the end, we are going to give you a resource page for parents, and it's going to have some phone numbers that are important to you, some other resources. So, know that you'll be getting that at the end. Yes, Stacy?
Yes.
Well, if Ryan will turn your mic on, you can say one more thing.
One more thing. About when your student is sick, I should have said, we have a Dean on Duty phone number for the men and for the women. So if your student says, well, I don't know who to call, I don't know which dean is on duty, it's always posted in the lobby, but there is one phone number that the Dean on Duty always has their phone transferred to. So that's posted in the dorm. It's on all four of the dean's doors. So I would have them put that in their phone right away. And they can call either front desk. If you're calling and you need to reach a dean, save the phone number in your phone as well. You'll see our cell phone numbers. We encourage you to save them in your phone before you leave. Even if we're not on duty, if your child is in need of care, we want to be available to you. So if we're not here, we'll connect with the dean who is and make sure that they're supported immediately. So I did want to mention that phone number because I'm assuming that's on the sheet, but just in case it isn't, as you check your child into the dorm, they are there on everyone's doors.
Great to know. Thank you, Stacy. So the next person we're going to hear from is Luann Davis, and she is our Vice President for Advancement. And I feel like she's been here longer than anybody else I know. Haven't you been? You've been at Union for
31 years.
31 years. So when you want to know how things work and when you want to know where to find information, Luann is the woman. So she's going to share some ways to stay connected to our campus, even though you're going back home.
Yeah, this is an interesting time because you're sort of trying to help your child grow wings and learn to fly on your own, and yet we also want you to stay connected. This isn't a time of separation. It's a time of just helping them grow and learn and get ready for all the things that are left to come in their life. And so our office does some things to try to keep you connected to your student, to this campus. And the first one is Parents Weekend. And put this in your phones right now, October 6 to 8. We would love to have you all come back again. And it's a fun time. There's a few events that we have planned for you, but it's also just dedicated time that you can spend one-on-one with your student. And maybe after 2 months, they need a refill on toothpaste and shampoo and all those good things, and you can take them shopping. I saw financial support up there as one of the ways you could come back and get their snack drawer restocked. So October 6 to 8, we would love to have as many of you possible come back. UTV is another wonderful way that you can stay connected. How many of you are parents of students that don't always tell you what they're involved with and what's going on? So you might have to follow the calendar just a little bit and do some inquiry, but you can go to ucollege.edu, which is our main webpage, and there's a TV right there, or Ryan's got the link right there, ucollege.edu/UTV. There are Vesper programs and music concerts and different worship programs, and all the athletic events are live streamed. And so it can be, especially if you're from far away and can't get back here, maybe your student's part of a recital of some kind. Just tune in on UTV. Usually there are events are posted out. Ryan, am I stretching it to say 2 months ahead of time under the upcoming events? And so you can grab the link and let family members know, because grandmas and grandpas and aunts and uncles like to be part of things too. So when you hear your students involved in something, check out the UTV calendar, and many times those events are streamed. The other one is social media and emails. I did start a clipboard and a notepad around, and I'll try to catch up with those and put them in the back when we're done. There is a weekly Friday email that goes out, usually between 11 a.m. and noon our time. It goes out, and if I have a good email for you and get you into that database, then you will be included in that. And it's a wonderful source of what are the news of the week from campus, what is something that's happening, and then there's always a calendar of upcoming events at the bottom. If there are things being streamed on UTV, those will be listed, and you'll have ways to stay in touch there. Social media, the team does a great job of keeping things posted, really fun human interest stories, notices of upcoming events, or pictures. You'll probably be excited to see your kid doing something. Are they involved in Splash for Cash, in the handshake? Get onto Facebook and check out all the pictures that will be posted there, and maybe you'll see your student. So the three main ones, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, are all pictured up there on the screen. So get connected to those and like our pages so that we can stay in touch with you. And I hope to see you all October, 6 to 8. That's phenomenal. And we'll have a wonderful time planned for all of you.
Thank you so much, Luann. So the next part of our program, we want to hear from you. And I want to hear a little bit about your story. I remember, it hasn't been that long ago, Luann and I both had our students started here at Union just 6 years ago. And I remember how hard it was to make that transition. So our son was excited to come to Union, and he'd made the decision to come to Union. And I was a little apprehensive because he has Asperger's, and I worried about him making the connections that he needed to make friends here, because he had struggled with that. And so it was really hard making that transition to college and seeing him going into a new journey that I knew I knew he'd probably end up getting married, and I had no idea how quickly that would be, because he got married after his junior year in college. And I figured, pretty soon I'd be a grandma, and yeah, they had a baby in March before he graduated. So it was a journey that I had to let him be an adult and start to make his own decisions, right? And it's hard. And I will tell you that one of the most beautiful things for me was praying for him and having those conversations about his love of Jesus during his time at Union, and watching him grow spiritually. And honestly, I love the academic experience he had here. And there's a couple things that made it amazing. He had mentors who cared about his success. He was a graphic design major, and all the way through his program, he was working with clients, trying to build a clientele and build experience. And his professors encouraged him to come and talk to them and share his projects and get their input. They were like happy to do that. And that made me so, feel so fortunate that he had people in his life that cared. And his first job out of college happened to be here in Lincoln. And so he went to his first day of work. And when he told me that one of his professors came to his job on his first day, I cried because I was like, wow, that's exactly the kind of experience that I wanted him to have. I wanted him to have mentors like that in his life. And let me tell you, that is not unique to him. We have people on our campus who love mentoring their students, who love having that kind of connection. And so, sorry, I didn't mean to cry, but but I think you all get it. Our kids are that important to us. And so, anyway, I want to take some time to hear from you. I'm going to pass the microphone around. You don't have to talk in the microphone. You can pass it on to the next family if you want. But I'd love to hear from you about where you're from, who you are, because you might find people across the room that you're like, oh, we're both from the same area of the country. And just share a dream that you have for your kids as they start at Union. And while you're doing that, we're also going to be handing out prayer cards for you to fill out and hand out to us. So I'm going to start right here.
Good evening. Is this on?
Yep.
I'm sorry we walked in late.
You're fine.
We came from California, so it's really far. Sorry. This is Herta Gauss. My name is Javier Adrian, and we have 2 kids starting this year, our son and our daughter. What we want, I think, what we want from our kids, obviously an education, high quality, and all that, but obviously I think the spiritual component was the community component, the spiritual component of this place was a large portion of why we wanted here. I have to admit that I think that our kids chose this place, and we were grateful. We were kind of hoping, so it kind of worked out that way. And I have to say, maybe a year ago when we first started looking into this, I was just Googling Union College, and there was a review, like a Google review, like just a random Google review, and somebody said, this is just a place where Adventist parents send their kids so they can find husbands and wives. And my response was, yeah, so? Yeah? What's the problem with that? So, at least the foundation, right? Maybe not the person, but they get the foundation. And so we feel very blessed to be here. Thank you.
I just want to add one thing. The one thing that I pray more than anything is that they will find a mentor here, that a spiritual mentor, because they come from an environment that is very, should I say, lukewarm. I think that's just the world we live in, without any judgment, okay? Yeah. And I think it is time for them to see deeper, grow spiritually, but because of the overall environment that they have been part of, they are very comfortable where they are. So my prayer is that there will be revivals happening in their lives, and at this school and wherever in our lives.
Amen. Amen. Thank you for sharing.
We're from Michigan.
Yay.
And I think we're excited about the community also and that possibility. That's why we came from all the way from Michigan.
Yeah, our daughter, we came and did the preview here, and she was drawn to the spirit of the place and the openness, the friendliness, and the small size. That was a key factor was the size. This is the right size for her. And yeah, she was drawn here. The testimonies of friends and relatives who have come here, they're always very excited, over the top, excited about their time here. They're not lukewarm about it. And anyway, we were drawn for those reasons.
Awesome. You know what? Tell us your daughter's name, and I'm going to have you guys do the same. Go ahead.
Okay. Our daughter's named Adelena.
And what's her major?
She's sort of STEMish.
Oh, wow.
So she is anchoring her entire college experience around a student missionary year that she hopes to really figure things out during. So
Fantastic.
that's kind of her key in her college experiences, focusing on finding her place in God's plan for her life, I think.
Fantastic.
Our daughter is named Alestia, and she is doing biomed, and our son is Renee, and he's doing IRR.
Go ahead. Yes.
My name is Evelyn, and my son's name is Greg, and he is IRR as well, pre-PT. And the other question was personal connection with others and with God.
Fantastic.
My name is Robin, and my son's name is Nolan. He's a business major, and he was drawn to the school. My husband graduated from here many moons ago, and he decided to come here last year, and God also had a plan to bring us here. We moved here in June from California. My husband's the new athletic director at the academy, and we're just super excited to have him here because we know the experience that my husband had and the community that he still has to this day that he formed here, and that's what brought us back here. So I am excited to have him experience the same thing.
I think that's a really good point. That I think for a lot of alumni, and Luann, you might be able to speak to this better than I can, but there's a community that continues on, and that's important. Yes.
Our student's name is Brooklyn, and we're actually her grandparents. We're her guardians, and she is majoring in education and minoring in history. Her goal is to go back to her academy in Tennessee and teach at that academy. We're both alumni of Union College and had a wonderful experience here. We still have friends here, and so it makes us feel really good that she's got a family in the community as well. She's a very vibrant and intelligent young lady, and she has a very outgoing personality once she gets to know you. So we don't want her to stay in her room by herself either. So
Stacy is clapping.
My name is Nancy, and my son's name is Almas, and he is here for the IR&R program, not because of the flat cornfields. That has been a big issue for him, so I hope he can see beyond the cornfields and see the mountains in the distance.
Nice.
My name is Iris. I'm here for my son Lucas, and what you just said is probably true for us too. Our son was surprised coming for college days here to Union. That he never imagined that this could be a place, and then he called us and he said, I'm in big trouble. They have the program where I need to be. And I think besides that, I think really the spirit that you are conveying here, even in making us parents feel confident that we have made the right decision to entrust our children to you. I praise God for that, and I leave this place reassured that the children are here on a growth journey that God is orchestrating, and that gives me peace. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you. And know that we don't take it lightly. We know that you've entrusted a lot. And that's why the mentoring of your kids is so important to us. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Diane. I'm here for my student Hannah. We come from Ontario, Canada. And I think part of it is the small town where we were, they were able to attend a Christian elementary school, but not a Seventh-day Adventist school. And so this is going to be her first experience in an Adventist setting, and I think she's really looking forward to that. She's like, I get to meet people who think like me. And I think that's a big thing for her. It was her decision. I grew up more in the Southeast. I'm a Southern graduate. And so she just like, Mom, I'm gonna go to Union. And I'm like, oh, why? You don't know anybody there. All my family, everybody's more Southeast. And she would have, I felt like she would have so much more support there. But after making this trip here, I'm seeing so many wonderful people. We attended the Northside Seventh-day Adventist Church yesterday, and I was just overwhelmed by the love and acceptance there. And you know, everybody I've met on campus has been warm and friendly, and so I feel like I can go back and tell my husband and my son, she's going to be loved and looked after, and I think it's going to be a really good experience for her. So I'm very happy for her.
Awesome.
I'm Carrie, and my son is Dylan. He is our baby. My husband and I are both teachers, and our oldest one is starting his 4th year of college, not here. But Dylan, when we came to check out Union, we'd gone to several schools. And when we came here, it was even after the kids had left. Because of timing, it just didn't work to come during the school year. And the vibe was so good. And we had really left it in the Lord's hands, and he just kept plunking person after person in Dylan's path during our visit here. And when we came back now, he's wanting to major in theology with a minor in missions. And Gammy is Michelle's mother-in-law, and she is Dylan's senior mentor at home in Redlands, California. And so Michelle just made me cry at dinner when she said, now, Dylan, if you need anything, because Gammy's family, we're family. And we're feeling that over and over from you guys. Sorry, he's my baby. I was the crying mama. That was my name. So in his nervousness of wondering how things are going to go, as soon as we stepped back on campus yesterday, he said, I feel like I'm home.
Oh.
I think it's the humidity here. Yeah. Actually, our son's name is Gerald Jr., and he's majoring in biomed. Okay. Originally, he wanted to go to a UC school, which is University of California. We're from California. But when that didn't work out, he told us, well, I'm still going to UC. So he's still in Union, yeah. So in a way, it's a success story for him. And we are so fortunate and glad that he chose Union College. And even in our church, some of the elders there have said good things about Union College as far as its Christ-centered and Christian-focused education. I think that's more important than what his career might be someday, because I think he can only be a success if Christ is within him. Yeah. So that's what our prayer and hope for him from now in the future. Thank you.
My name is Abner. This is my lovely wife, Amber. We were here in 97 through 2000. And although I didn't graduate, we didn't graduate from Union at the time, we did meet each other. And that has carried the day for me personally ever since. So our time at Union, we remember fondly. We made great friends. It's wonderful to see many of those very same friends bringing their children back now for the next generation to grow and go through this season together. Our daughter's name is Ava. She is a freshman nursing major. And she's a bit of an introvert. So when we got here to Union, it was just the right fit for her in terms of the size, in terms of what she experienced on campus with eye contact, with folks who knew each other's name, with individuals saying good morning to each other and good afternoon, which was different than what she'd experienced on other campuses. So we did another college tour the very next day after we arrived at home. And she, I kept kind of, mentioning the names of both schools, right, as possibilities. And finally one day, probably within a couple of days of having completed our visit, she said, Dad, you can just, I'm going to Union. So she knew, after having experienced the campus and the smiling faces and the faculty and staff who took a very personal interest in her and knowing her name, and Missy, so who took an interest in knowing her name and caring about her as an individual, as a person. I think that made all the difference for her. And so our prayer is that she will flourish here at Union, along with all of your children as well as they journey together. And we're from Tennessee, my wife said, so.
While I walk the microphone over, I want to mention something that I think is beautiful that happens on our campus. Students can decide to do something called Heart Scan, and they can meet with one of our faculty or staff on a weekly basis and have a Bible study with them, and it's their worship requirement for the semester. And man, I have heard some of the most wonderful, amazing stories of journeys, not only for the students, but for our faculty and staff as well. What a beautiful way for us to strengthen our relationship with Christ and with each other. So it's something that lets your students know they can do Heart Scan, and it's something that's really a beautiful experience for them. All right, it's your turn.
Good evening. My name is Michael Johnson. This is my wife, Hazelina. And we are dropping off our second of 3 children, Chris. Our story is a little unique in that our oldest son is attending Oakwood University. My wife attended Oakwood University. I actually dropped him off there for his 3rd year last week. And so Chris had assumed it going into his senior year of high school, and they've all gone to Adventist schools all their life. So he had assumed he was going to Oakwood as well. But we got a reach out from the athletic department, like, hey, we're interested in Chris for basketball. I'm like, we're from Texas. I'm like, am I really going to send my son to the middle of Nebraska to go to school? It doesn't get really cold there. We're not used to it. Like 88 degrees is cold for us in Texas. Okay.
It doesn't get that cold.
So we came up here for a visit after his basketball season was over. And we got on campus, and he and I came up. This is actually my wife's first time visiting here. And I was blown away because I had no idea this was here. I had no idea. Everybody was so nice. Everybody was so attentive to everything. Everybody, like we could ask questions for an hour straight. And they just sat there and answered our questions. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is... And so, long story short, we've gone from there's no way in the world I'm sending my kid to the middle of Nebraska to go to school to I can't see myself sending my kid anyplace else to go to school for the next couple of years. And not just because he's going to be playing basketball. He's got some friends that he graduated with. They're here. They're on the same floor as him in the dorm. So he's already hanging out with his friends. He's meeting new people. And so my biggest thing for I think I'm starting to learn that this is like the school for introverts. Maybe that's not a thing, but it kind of, I feel like I'm hearing that theme. And he's, even though he's active and doing things, he's very quiet and to himself, very reserved kid. And I think this school will help him and accept him for that and help him manage through that. Right. Because I think that's my biggest concern is he going to come out of his room, right, and meet people? And it sounds like, yeah, actually, I think he will. So,
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. My name is Arlene, and my daughter's name is Isabella. She's my firstborn, so this is my first time leaving one of my kids behind. We're from Florida, we look at several of the schools. My daughter first started in a Seventh-day Adventist school, and in the town we live in West Palm Beach, Florida. They don't have like a high school, a Seventh-day Adventist academy anywhere. So she went to a charter school, and I don't know if you guys went to public school or charter schools, but the culture out there is really scary. Things that, you know, they're exposed and they see every day. So that was one of my biggest worries. And we started looking into colleges, Seventh-day Adventist colleges, and visited a couple, but she really felt close to this school. And even though it's like you said in the middle, it's actually the middle of the U.S. So I'm like, oh my gosh, big trip to go visit. But she really felt identified, and maybe because she looks like an introvert, but she's really not. So yeah, so I think that she loved the school, and I was really happy about it. I was just worried that it was so far, but I think that this is the type of environment, the size of the school, that she's really going to thrive and have that spiritual connection in her life, and just, you know, feeling her, or I would love to see her thrive in all aspects of her life. Not just, you know, educational, but the full spectrum of becoming, you know, an individual that's going to help the community, that's going to be somebody that's going to be successful in all aspects of her lives.
Awesome. Thank you. Why don't you hand right behind you?
Well, we, my husband Curtis and I, bringing our kids to college was like, because we dropped them off at Upper Columbia Academy when they were freshmen and a sophomore. And then we were living in Canada. So we're like, see ya, Christmas? Right. So we already had that, okay, they're leaving home. But they left home together. So they were grade 9 and grade 10. And so now that we bring Chloe here, we're like, I mean, she's lived in the dorm before, so it's kind of old hat for her. But one of the things is, coming from Washington, Upper Columbia Academy is a lot like this, only in an academy setting. So it's smaller, it's more rural, and that was very appealing to her. And there's the smaller class size, and that's something that she also appreciated, that I think she's going to appreciate. I, like, on the employee side now, I'm like, I've been Hannah's advisor, so I get to talk to a fellow Canadian over there. And everything that you said that Hannah says, she says to me too. So the stories match. And I enjoy Christopher. I've chatted with him over texting. And so now all the students that I've been texting are coming to life. I'm like, oh, I can now put a face to the name. So I tell your kids, I'm just a text away. And I do not answer at 11:30 at night, and they're learning that, why I haven't got back to them until in the morning. But I love that your students have reached out to me for silly questions like, does my room have carpet? Or what is the color of the walls? Or what's for breakfast at the cafeteria? That's okay. I will answer. I will answer whatever questions, because some of those things are important to them. And one of the girls that came from Upper Columbia Academy as well, she was sitting at our table for supper tonight, and she got up, walked over to a table of people that I don't think she knew, and Mom's like, Clara's an introvert. What is she doing? Chloe said that about Clara, like she's an introvert, like she just doesn't get up and talk to other people. And so I'm not sure the connections that she already made, and her parents are not here. They're still back in Washington, so she came all on her own, flew out here on her own. And so something is, Clara's blossoming too. So I think that the kids are just feeling comfortable, and that's important.
That is important. Thank you.
Okay. I've had time to kind of hear all your stories, and I still don't know what to say. So, my daughter I homeschooled my daughter. I'm from California, so I homeschooled her. And we came to visit probably maybe 2 or 3 years ago, 2 years ago. And she saw that she had no bathroom, and that bothered her. And she was like, no, I'm going to Southern. I'm not even going to take a look at this place because it's old. I don't want to go there. And I said, just give it a chance. You never know. Well, we're back. And she made the decision completely on her own. She is a transfer student. This is totally hers. She's worked 2 jobs to get here because she is a transfer. She did 2 years in her freshman year, so she's coming in with almost a junior. But I'm just looking forward to, she's my firstborn. So I'm looking forward to, just hearing the stories where I lost my husband a couple years ago. So she's worked hard, and I really just want the experience for her.
Good evening. My name is Dean Waterman, and my daughter's name is Madison, and she's a freshman here. She'll be studying business and communications, and we're from Maine, so we drove all the way out here. My brother and sister-in-law both graduated from here and had amazing experiences, and it was interesting. Once my daughter started considering Union, we started to realize how many of our friends had graduated from Union, and all of their experiences were absolutely amazing, and I've never experienced that. And we did a lot of college tours, and she ended up making the decision here. I think the primary reason was the size of the campus, but also just the friendliness. I think she felt welcomed, and people were, like you said, saying hi and just having eye contact and stuff like that. And we didn't experience that as much on other campuses. So my dream for her is that she has the same experience as our family and our friends, and that she grows closer to Christ here as well.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Chris. I brought Elizabeth here from Idaho. She is a freshman nursing student who hopes to go on and become a CRNA when she is done. She's really excited to be here. I think I hear a lot of the same things that we see with Elizabeth. She's an introvert. The campus size was really good for her. We did a lot of the college tours as well. My wife and I both went to Andrews and both graduated from Andrews and thought she might end up there as well. But this is where she was drawn to, and she really feels that this is the place for her.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you.
May I just say something they mentioned, that I also asked so many questions about these schools to other people. And even the president of the ministry department, they have a department down in Puerto Rico. Nobody had a negative comment to say about the school. Just to let you know that no one had a negative comment of the school.
Thank you.
We're the Wagners. I'm Lenny and Janine from New Mexico. We're bringing Madeline here to be a nursing student. And we've done this 4 times before with sons, beginning about 20 years ago. 3 of them came to Union. It's been very difficult each time leave one off. This is the first time for a daughter. I'm thinking that will even be worse. We have her sibling here. I remember in one of the boys, driving back to Kansas, where my parents were and where I'm from. And I think our son literally cried for 2 hours until we got to the Kansas line. I'm hoping it's not that bad of an experience for Mia, but we're worried about that a bit. On a lighter note, we know this is the right place. I went here half of a century ago. I hate to admit that. I've had family here, for many, many years. It goes way back. It's a known entity to us, and it's a very comfortable choice. Just in a lighthearted way, we went to visit a school Madeline wanted to look at in West Texas A&M, a fine school south of Amarillo. And I think as most state schools, one of the first things, and always being tuned in because I'd not been to state schools in college before, is when they speak about the residence halls, there is a whole different situation there than here. You have a floor, you have the young men, you have a floor where you have the young women. And sometimes, like where our son went in New Mexico State, they're interspersed, kind of in a Motel 6 situation. I'm glad that's not here. We laugh about it some, but I'm very comfortable that she's here and not there. That's all I have to say. Maybe her mother will have something to add.
No, she said a lot. But the other night at 3 a.m., I woke up and I thought, what in the world am I doing? Protected these girls so close, and they don't have knowledge of anything outside of Hobbs, New Mexico. And I thought, I need to pull the plug. So that morning, I said, I don't think I can do it. He said, you want to pull the plug? And we didn't, of course.
We didn't want to.
No, because we questioned, is this our comfort level? And it is. That's all we know. So, but why not? And I told Madeline, I said, Madeline, I don't know if I can do it. And she kind of, Mom, I'll be okay. I guess that's what I needed to hear. So here we are.
All right. It's exciting to hear your dreams for your kids. I just want you to know that. That's exciting for us to hear that. Mike.
All right, my name is Mike Nelson, and my daughter Bailey, our oldest, is starting as a freshman this year. And 14 months ago, my wife and I moved here from Mount Vernon, Washington, so that she could come here. She's on the autism spectrum, and we chose to come here because we'd been hearing good things about Union's Student Center and the extra resources they put into helping students who are on the spectrum or need special help with studies or classes and taking tests and whatever. And it's also full circle for us. My parents came here, met here, got married, and I was born in Crete. So it's kind of, we're coming full circle here now. And no, after 14 months, we have not gotten used to the humidity yet.
Hi, Jason and my wife Sally. This is our fourth one to send off to school. Jonah wants to go into physical therapy, or I'm sorry, physician assistant. He wants to work on being a missionary, and so excited to see him go. I mean, not sad to see him go, but excited that he's doing what he wants. So.
Thank you. My name is Gary Bontemps and my wife Carline Bontemps, and we're here to support my daughter Brittany Bontemps. That's her choice. She's a bioscience major, and we will do anything in our capacity to to help her make it. Thank you.
Wonderful.
My name is Ellie. I brought my daughter Bianca. She picked Union out of nowhere. We are Christian, but I have no idea how she did the research, but she did. And she said, this is where I want to go. And she's a nursing major, so the first thing I asked her to do was to look at NCLEX and look at the passing rates and all of that. And so when she brought it to me, I couldn't say no. Because there's excellent passing rates here. And as the time went on, she's 16 years old. She graduated July, and I thought I had another year with her, but she decided that she wanted to start this semester. And so she suffered a very traumatic experience last year. She was in a head-on collision. She has lots of metal in her body now. And I think she's kind of lost some of her spiritual parts of her. She feels like she'll never admit it, but I've just heard her say that now she doesn't say she's a Christian anymore, and that makes me sad. So for her to pick this school, I just kind of feel like this is where she was supposed to be. And when we first arrived on campus, I fell in love with it. And I'm really hoping that she regains some of that spiritual closeness to Jesus. And she realizes that it wasn't done to her on purpose. And I think that's where she was at a little bit. And I'm hoping I see some little things coming out that I have never seen. We were sitting at the table at supper time, and two young, people came, sat next to us, asked if they could sit there. She said yes, and immediately she just struck up a conversation. And some of y'all know we had this conversation when we came to visit. She said she was going to sit in her room and eat her meals and just do school. And so I know that she's meant to be here, and I appreciate everyone that has been in contact with me and talking to her. And I just want to say thank you, because it really does make me feel a lot better, just due to her age, and she is my baby. So,
wow. Thank you so much for sharing. Wow.
Oof. It's kind of hard, to say goodbye to your baby girl, especially when she's the only girl that you have, and 5 older boys, and the farthest any of them ever went to school was 4 hours away. Now she's putting 800 miles between us. I don't know what I did wrong, but or right, but it looks like I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to figure that out. Our name is Alejandra and Hector Luna. We are dropping my daughter's name. My daughter, Mia Luna. She wants to be a neonatal nurse, and I know she's going to accomplish that. When she first said to me that she was going to Union College, I thought that it was going to be Union College in Napa Valley, California, because that's where we're from, California also. Because my nephew went there, and I didn't know there was a Union College in the middle of nowhere, Lincoln, Nebraska. We came here in the spring just to walk around, but she knew already that she was going to go to school here. She did all her homework. She's very independent, and I'm glad that she picked this school. I'm not glad that it's 800 miles away, but that's what they got planes for, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Thank you very much, guys. Take care. God bless. Huh?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Chad. It's my wife, Glendy. We are dropping off Colin this weekend. He's our oldest. And when he told us that he had picked Union and was going to be going into business marketing, we kind of looked at each other and said, do you really know what that involves? Because he's quiet and shy. But the big thing about Colin is once he gets excited about something, he's all in. So we are hoping that with the staff here at Union, they can really tap into that energy and really kind of focus him and really allow him to blossom, because I think he's going to do exceptional. So,
Wonderful. Thank you.
I'm Jennifer, and this is my husband, Roger. We're dropping our daughter, Haley, off. We met here at Union.
We can vouch for the finding the spouse.
We both graduated in 1996, and here we are. Our son graduated from Union last year, and he is living in Omaha now. We're from Cortez, Colorado, and our daughter insisted she was not going to Union. She was going to go to Southern, and that's where most of her friends are. So we were really surprised when she changed her mind and decided to come to Union. She also changed her mind from she wanted to be a nursing major, and she's changed to occupational therapy and is hoping that the program will continue and become more than an OTA. She wants to continue on.
Awesome. Well, I think that that will happen, because next fall we're going to be starting the masters in OTA. Or an OT. So that's wonderful. I want to thank you for sharing your stories. Part of the reason we like to hear your stories is it helps us to connect with your student. It helps us to pray for your student. And that's important to us as a campus. We gave you each a postcard to fill out, and I will tell you that when we get those back, we type those up and we share it with our entire President's Council team and with our Board of Trustees, because it's important to us that we're praying for our students. And I want you to know it's not just a piece of paper that you're handing back to us that's nothing's happening with. It is something that we take seriously. Your prayers, we take them very seriously. And so I thank you for that, for sharing, and for sharing your prayers, for sharing your stories with us this evening. Let's have prayer together. And before you leave, we have some gifts for you, because your kids probably got a lot of freebies, right? But we have a couple things for you to choose from. We have a Proud Mom mug that you can choose from. We have a Proud Dad that you could choose from. Or if you don't want a coffee mug, we also have a water bottle, a Union water bottle. So you can choose one of those. And then we also have a snack for you and a sheet that is our parent sheet that gives you some essential information, resources. You might want to stick it up with a magnet on your refrigerator, because it's resources that you might need through the year. So let's bow our heads. Lord God, thank you. Thank you for our time together this evening. And I just pray a special blessing on each parent in this room, Lord. I pray that you will give them wisdom as they mentor their child from home. And I pray that you will just give them peace and comfort as they leave their kid here to start a new journey. Thank you, Lord. Amen. Have a good evening. Yes. Actually, the gift table is on this side of the room, in case you didn't already see it. It's over here. And you can leave your prayer cards at the gift table as well.